Am I the asshole for selling my house to my son? My son has lived with me the past 3 years with his son and daughter. My son helps a lot with taking care of the house and doing errands for me. I feel he has invested a lot into the house labor-wise. I decided to offer to sell it to him at a good deal. I can use the money to enjoy retirement a bit more, and he can build equity into his home. My son was very happy to buy the house. My daughter found out and is pissed. She said I am stealing inheritance from her sons and making sure everything will go to my son's kids. That isn't really true, because if something happens to me my assets will be split between them, including the money I made from the sale of the house. My daughter thinks I was massively unfair to her, but it's my house. Is this practically much different from selling to a stranger? Not the asshole, but your daughter is. She is burying you alive. You owe her no inheritance if you sold the house to a stranger and spent all the money to Las Vegas. You would have right to do this, and as you say, your assets will be split equally between them. The cheek to say you are stealing the money you earned. She can go earn herself as much as she wants. Your daughter is correct about how the assets will be split. Your son gave you money for the house. You're then going to return half of it to him in inheritance and he keeps the house at a discounted rate. Whatever the difference in value sold versus market should be given to her. My thought is though the house will be worth a lot more than whatever is left from the sale of the house. You did in fact take something away from her and those grandchildren. In Ta though, it's your stuff so do with it as you please. My friend's grandfather donated a nearly $2 million oceanfront apartment in Seal Beach, CA. Literally the porch has an unobstructed view of the surf. So it could be worse for your daughter. Not the asshole but your daughter is correct that generational wealth transfer is going disproportionately to your son and by extension his children. It's not just about the total value, it's also about the time value. He is getting part of his inheritance now, whereas she is not. And $50,000 compounded at 8% per year for 25 years is a significant chunk of change. If that's your intent, then that is your right. But if that's not your intent then you might want to consult with an attorney to see how you could structure your will to even that out. Is this practically much different from selling to a stranger? It's very different from selling the house to your daughter. Don't be disingenuous. So, info time. I decided to offer to sell it to him at a good deal. What exactly does that mean? Below market value or not? Because if it was, my assets will be split between them, including the money I made from the sale of the house. That instantly becomes pretty meaningless. Yikes, I get that you didn't mean to, but you did royally screw over your daughter here. You can do whatever you want with your money, but it seems like you are really unaware of how unfair your actions are if your intent is to treat your kids fairly. Your son just got a great asset for a steal. He also was able to save money living for free. The house will continue to appreciate and he will get half the profit money from the sale back in inheritance. I have to go with you are the asshole here because I'm hoping your intent is to treat your children equally and you are not doing that. I hope you can find a way to make this right and fix your relationship with your daughter. Best of luck. Am I the asshole for not wanting to give a traditional wedding gift to my fiancé's family? I, am 30, am an American living in Asia and recently got engaged to my wonderful fiancé, F25. And things have been going great, until we started talking about some wedding details. My wife was born and raised and has lived her whole life in this country, and things are a bit more old school here. She told me that it's tradition for the groom to give a gift to bride's family, and at first I thought it was no big deal, but then when I found out more about it I started to be against it. Typically the bride will ask her parents what is a suitable amount for the gift, which involves cash and gold I guess. They told her I should give $3,000 in cash and then gold jewelry and poop which will be another $1,000 basically. I thought this was nuts. For context, the average salary in this country is only around $500 per month so this is a lot of money by local standards. Her family is quite well off though. Parents are in their late 50s and both retired. So it's not like they need financial help I think. I already have to pay for the wedding 100% myself. It also tradition here for the groom to do that. Where we have to invite her very large extended family as well as dozens and dozens of her parents' family friends. Meaning our wedding will be around 300 guests. This all going to cost me so much, to the point that I worry I can barely afford it. Not only is this a lot of money, but it doesn't sit well with me that I basically have to pay a dowry for her. It feels like something from the 1800s and quite misogynistic. I've told my fiancée all of this and now she's very upset with me. She says her parents are quite traditional and there's no way they will accept our marriage if I don't give the gifts. Supposedly, if I don't give the gifts, it'll look like I don't care about her and our marriage will have bad luck. Her sister, 30F, is married already and I guess her husband, 32M, gave the gifts at their wedding. My fiancé has stopped answering my texts now, and I'm wondering, am I the asshole? Edit. Just to clarify a couple things. I can afford it, but I'm a bit of a penny pincher, so it's a lot for me. Spending over $10,000 to get married makes me uncomfortable. Seems silly when that money could be invested for our future instead. I've been here quite a few years, but no close friends have gotten married, so I never really learned about wedding traditions before. Edit 2. I got some amazing news. My fiancée just found out she's pregnant and now her family doesn't want us to spend money on a wedding or gift, still the poop though, so we can save for the baby. Who knew I just had to knock her up to get out of the wedding and the gift? This baby really killed two birds with one stone. We're just going to have a very small wedding ceremony now and they're going to tell me more about that shortly. Not the asshole, but you are marrying someone from another culture and you have to decide whether this is something you want to deal with, financially and emotionally. Nah. This isn't the last culture clash you're going to experience here, though. Each time something happens, your fiancé is going to be torn between her culture and her love for you. It's going to take sacrifice on both sides. Love isn't enough here. She can't expect you to always fit into her worldview, and I think this is one of those occasions. But what culture will the kids be raised with? If her family has this much control now, what will her future decisions look like? Think long and hard about what you want to happen here. Not the asshole. I'm Asian. What you're being asked for is pretty normal, the whole gift giving, but the amount you're being asked for is ridiculous emo. The amount is usually based on who the groom is, where he's from, etc. etc. It's likely they're asking for all these things because you're American. Seen it happen before. Your fiancé can tell her family to back off if she is willing to stick up for you, but based on the fact that she's ignoring your texts, it looks like she is okay with you being taken for a ride. Be wary, my friend. It's likely them expecting gifts will carry on throughout your marriage. Not the asshole. It sounds like you're a teacher working overseas in Asia, right? Either way, that price isn't justifiable simply because you can't afford it. If they want that kind of wedding and dowry, then they can wait X years until you can make it work, so you'll just have a multi-year engagement. Otherwise, you just can't afford it. I'm 100% certain poor Asian folks aren't paying that kind of money for their bride. What do? Your, presumably now ex-fiancé wants you to adopt her traditions and culture. You don't want to. So it appears you're just incompatible. I would have been tempted to vote no assholes here, except that your, presumably now ex-fiancé is ignoring you. The person who is passive-aggressive is always the asshole, which makes you not the asshole. Am I the asshole for making my wife defend her decision? Throwaway and some details changed for anonymity. My M45 wife, F48, has always refused to let our daughter, 13F, do sleepovers at friends' houses. Her rationale is that abuse and/or misbehavior, drinking, drugs, etc., could happen. This is something she feels very strongly about. It was never a huge issue before the past few years. Our daughter has a very tight-knit group of friends. Our daughter is best friends with one of the girls, Ella. Ella frequently hosts sleepovers and the other girls attend, but our daughter doesn't. We compromise by having her go over and then picking her up at about 9 p.m., which she dislikes, but it never was a huge issue before. However, this past year it got a lot worse. Ella's parents own a vacation home about 2.5 hours away. They spend most of the summer there and frequently go for weekends during the year. The other girls spent 2 weeks there with Ella this past summer, and have been going with her for weekends every so often. My wife won't let our daughter go and it has turned our house into a war zone. I don't agree with my wife's rule and have argued with her repeatedly over it. Ella's parents are nice people and have had us over to their house before, and the other girls go there frequently with no issues. My wife will not change her mind. So when my daughter asked me what I thought about the summer trip, I was honest that I had no issue with it, but her mom was the one who said no. Ever since then their relationship has really deteriorated. Our daughter hates spending time with her and will do anything to avoid it, and frequently snaps and lashes out at her. My wife is in tears several times a week over this. I figured some of this is just our daughter being a teen, but it just seems to be getting worse. My wife says I have thrown her under the bus, but I don't agree. She has made a unilateral decision on sleepovers and won't compromise, so why should I lie to my daughter? Nothing will convince her, so I refuse to sacrifice my relationship with her. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your daughter is 13 and wants the independence most kids have around 9 or 10. Not the asshole. So what if I get crap for this? I know it's a big fear among parents lately, but your daughter feels very left out, and you know what? She is. Being unable to spend time with her friends on an occasional overnight and being picked up at 9 p.m. is embarrassing for her. I'm thinking your wife needs to relax her sphincter a little bit and compromise. Maybe at first, your daughter can go once a month as a trial run. Maybe she can talk to the parents hosting the sleepover. Will they be there with the girls the whole time? Is there a security system in place and is the alarm set every night? Does your daughter have a cell phone in case she feels uncomfortable at any time? Go over things like that to help ease her anxiety. Also, talking to the other parents would be helpful, too. Not the asshole. Your wife is denying your child normal childhood experiences, which is very sad. I'm guessing this also meant on overnight summer camps also. Your wife is really doing your daughter a disservice. I cannot imagine what she will go through her first night at college, or her first apartment, when she has never in her life spent a single night away from her parents. My wife says I have thrown her under the bus, but I don't agree. She has made a unilateral decision on sleepovers and won't compromise, so why should I lie to my daughter? Nothing will convince her, so I refuse to sacrifice my relationship with her. Not the asshole. Your wife is being unreasonable about this and is destroying her relationship with your daughter. Tell your wife that if she continues to stand in the way of your daughter enjoying these kinds of typical teenager experiences, she will lose her. Not the asshole. A unified front is only useful if parents aren't diametrically opposed to each other like you two seem to be. Did something happen to your wife when she was a child at someone else's house? Am I the asshole for asking my wife to go out less? I love my wife. She is the light of my life. We have been together 6 years and married for 4. She has 2 wonderful children from a previous marriage. They are with us Monday, Friday, and then go with their biological father after school on Friday. I love them very much and I consider them my own children. I work a full-time job as an executive in a technology company. About 50 hours per week, travel about 1 week every 2 months or so. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She does fantastic. She had her first child at 18 and has been a stay-at-home mom since. This is soon to be important. Recently she met a friend who is 25, single and loves to party. And slowly but surely, my wife started to pick up on this lifestyle. Now we're at full tilt. I took notes of the last 12 weekends just to see if I'm crazy, and I know Reddit loves good data. Counting Friday and Saturdays over the last 12 weekends includes 24 weekend nights, stretching back to the week of Halloween. Out of those 24 days she went out for 17 of them and generally does not come home until after 2 a.m. She texts me generally the whole time she's out, but she drinks, which is fine, smokes, not a fan of, and now has told me she has tried cocaine once or twice. Time for a quick detour. Growing up I had only my mom and her roommates. My mom was a stripper and her varying and often changing roommates were also strippers. From around the age of 8 would tuck me into bed, tell me she'd see me in the morning and then, unbeknownst to me for a long while, leave to go work at the strip club. I distinctly remember so many times waking up to find the house completely empty and eerily silent and crying myself back to sleep. And I was also very confused as to why my mom would do that to me, but I knew even if I didn't know the word at the time I was being abandoned. Eventually I became numb to it. I don't speak to my mom anymore, 24+ years later. I feel that now. Even as it's Friday and my wife is taking a nap before we go to dinner and drive separate cars so she can go hang with her friends at the bar afterwards until 2 a.m. We've had it out before. I've told her I felt abandoned and her response was, I never got to go out. I had kids. They're with their father on the weekends so I know they're safe. I'm sorry, I like to go out with my friends. I don't know what to tell you. I wanted to say, I'm sorry you had children. That was your decision. And now you're 30, which is a bad argument. Age shouldn't be a factor here, but I'm winging it. And you're married, and if you want to go sometimes that's fine. But I think you are going out too much. I'm writing this post because not only am I concerned with am I being the asshole. I have my own hobbies and my own friends, but I like to see my wife. I like to hang out with my wife. She is my best friend. The other reason I'm writing this is because I'm becoming numb to what she's doing it and I'm not sure if I'm to blame, she is, or we both are. Not the asshole. Does she realize that drug use can compromise her custody arrangement? If the ex gets wind of mom doing coke, he'd be a complete deadbeat to not move for full custody. She's risking literally everything with her behavior. Not the asshole. Cocaine. Look at the signs you are being given. Out all weekend, doing cocaine. Those are some serious signs. Often, married people, especially those who were parents at a very young age, tend to want to experience that other side of life where the fun and the glitz of it all makes it seem as though the grass is greener on the other side. If not dealt with, she could begin to spiral. Cocaine makes people do things they wouldn't normally do, and sometimes that's with other people. She won't hit her until it's too late, so I hope you two can work it out. Not the asshole, but I don't recommend saying what you wrote out that you wanted to say. I recommend just telling her what you said here, that she's your best friend and you're missing her. You want to have date nights while the kids are gone, you want to have movie nights, cuddle nights, etc. I also would understand if you brought up that you were concerned with her having used cocaine and being around that culture so often. Not the asshole, and holy shit, this woman reminds me of my mother. Had me at a young age with my dad, who was even younger and not at all ready to be a dad. Worked a dead-end waitress job at age 30. So she would get off work and immediately go spend all her tips with her 21-plus coworkers drinking and getting wasted, while poor little me was alone at our shitty apartment starving and crying for my mom. Thankfully her children have that parent to go to, but if she's doing coke I can absolutely see this going in a bad direction. Maybe suggest going and seeing a therapist or marigay counselor. See if this is her way of rebelling or maybe a midlife crisis. Have you met these friends before? Not the asshole. That would drive me crazy. Many may say that you are the asshole because she's her own woman and can do as she pleases, but I think couples have a responsibility to make each other feel cared for, and prioritized, sometimes, when it comes to friends. It's not controlling to want your wife to not act like a 21-year-old party animal for the sake of her relationship.